Hello and welcome to the Federal. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented her budget, her seventh consecutive budget, a record of sorts, today in the Lok Sabha. This was also the first budget of the new Modi government, uh, which was sworn in last month after a hung verdict, which for the first time in the last 10 years made Mr. Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, dependent on two key allies, Mr. Nitish Kumar, the JDU national president, and Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, uh, the president of the TDP. These two parties, as the opposition has constantly been reminding the BJP government, these two parties are the crutches on which the Prime Minister's government stands today. The budget that was presented by Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman in the Lok Sabha today amply justifies why the government has been repeatedly pilloried by the opposition as one that stands on the crutches of Mr. Nitish Kumar and Mr. Chandrababu Naidu. There are two major takeaways from the budget, the political takeaways from the budget today. The first, that while the Prime Minister may have repeatedly talked about eschewing any kind of populism and presenting a vision for a Viksit Bharat, a developed India, there are clear handicaps for the government in its current form, the coalition that it has, which is dependent on the support of Mr. Nitish Kumar and Mr. Chandrababu Naidu. The other, that the government, through this budget, has demonstrated that while it is not willing to acknowledge several of the concerns that came up during the Lok Sabha campaign, not acknowledge them directly, it still wants to somehow address them indirectly. But the general hubris for which the government is constantly criticized by the opposition sort of prevents this government from going all out to address those concerns. So let's see the first issue of how the government's stability reflects, or the concerns for its stability reflects in this budget. Remember that the Lok Sabha election results, there were several states in which the BJP had a clean sweep. Madhya Pradesh was one, Chhattisgarh a near clean sweep, Orissa a near clean sweep, and then of course Uttarakhand, Himachal, so on and so forth. And there were several states in which the BJP performed very poorly. Uttar Pradesh was a prime example where the BJP had thought it would had been claiming that it's going to surpass all records and get more than 70 of the state's 80 seats. It ended up winning just fewer than 35 seats, and then bigger states like Maharashtra, where it did not perform as well. States like Karnataka too, where it did all right, but its tally did drop. There are also states that are going to polls towards the end of this year or the first half of next year. States like Maharashtra, Haryana, Jharkhand, and Bihar. Bihar, of course, we'll address later because that's Mr. Nitish Kumar's home turf. Now, traditionally, you see a budget generally cater to requirements of poll-bound states and address electoral concerns of the government in power. What does this budget do? There are no specific projects or big-ticket programs, policies that affect any of the poll-bound states, barring Bihar. There's nothing in the budget specifically for Maharashtra. which where the BJP has performed poorly in the Lok Sabha elections, and a state that goes to polls towards the end of this year. Haryana, where the state, another state where the BJP did not perform well in the Lok Sabha elections and is facing a very tough challenge electorally, a state that goes to polls along with Maharashtra towards the end of the year. No big ticket programs. Jharkhand, another state where the BJP did perform really well in the Lok Sabha elections, but has problems cut out for itself in the assembly elections that are due next end of this year. No big ticket programs there too. But Bihar, where elections are due towards the mid of next year, and where the BJP has Mr. Nitish Kumar as its coalition partner, you've got a seemingly endless list of policies, programs, funds, etc., that have been announced, especially to cater to the requirements of Bihar. Now, Bihar is a very important case here because Mr. Nitish Kumar, an ally of the BJP, Mr. Chirag Paswan, another ally of the BJP, Mr. Jitan Ram Manjhi, another ally of the BJP, all these parties had been asking or demanding from the BJP a special status, special category status for Bihar, as well as a special financial economic package for Bihar because of its backwardness. Now, interestingly, yesterday in the Lok Sabha, the Union Minister of State for Finance, Mr. Pankaj Chaudhary, said that there is no case made out for a special package, and that for Bihar. And that gave the impression that perhaps the BJP wants to brazen it out, does not want to give the impression that it's had to bend before Mr. Nitish Kumar. But look at how the picture has changed within less than 24 hours. The budget that was announced today has, if you do a rough back of the envelope calculation, schemes, projects, additional funds, all of that put together, amounting to maybe slightly less than 1 lakh crore. So you've got Bihar being given a 26,000 crore package for building of expressways, river bridges, and related infrastructure. Another 11,500 crore financial support for an accelerated irrigation system, irrigation scheme in the flood-affected areas of Kosi and other parts, 20 other projects in the state. Then you've got schemes that have been announced for creation of an industrial node in Gaya, the constituency of Mr. Jitan Ram Manjhi, who's also the MSME minister. You've got projects of a tourism hub, a religious corridor, temple corridor for Gaya, for Bodh Gaya, for Rajgir, for Nalanda. Nalanda, of course, is also the home turf of Mr. Nitish Kumar. All of these put together. And then there is the overarching scheme called Purvodaya, which the budget has announced for the first time this time. Now, Purvodaya, it's an interesting scheme because the government, the finance minister mentioned while announcing the scheme that this is a scheme that's meant for all the eastern states which suffer from backwardness, economic, social backwardness. But when you look at the fine print of the budget and you even listen to the speech of the finance minister, the only state that she mentioned in detail with regard to the Purvodaya scheme and what the state will get was Bihar. Although the scheme is supposed to cover Bihar, West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Orissa, and Jharkhand. So Orissa, of course, there have been some solid announcements in the budget. It's a state that the BJP has very recently, in the Lok Sabha elections, managed to get in its kitty very comprehensively, backed it from Naveen Patnaik's BJD. And so there is a continuation of that outreach for Orissa. But then, even in the Purvodaya scheme, there's no specific mention of what the government proposes to do in the other states that are included in that scheme, except for Bihar and to a certain extent, Orissa and Andhra Pradesh. Now, come to Andhra Pradesh, the next big state, where the BJP has a key ally which is instrumental for this, required for the stability of the Modi government, the TDP. The TDP also, like Bihar, has been demanding special status, has been demanding a special package. The government has not given that. But what the government has done to offset any kind of adverse ramifications of denying a special package, any kind of pushback from the TDP, is they've catered to both key requirements or key demands of Mr. Chandrababu Naidu. They've said that all possible financial central assistance will be given for the Polavaram project, which is a key project for Mr. Chandrababu Naidu. It was mentioned very prominently in his poll speeches, in his campaign for Andhra Pradesh, and a 15,000 crore financial package for the capital city project of Andhra Pradesh, for Amaravati. Now, these were two major demands of the Andhra Chief Minister. Those demands have been met in the budget. And that's about it. There are no specific mentions of projects that the government plans to undertake for any of the other states. And in fact, very soon after, or in fact, even during the budget being presented, you had members of parliament from Punjab, from Maharashtra, from Uttar Pradesh, from Bengal, all shouting slogans, slamming the finance minister for addressing only concerns of Bihar and Andhra Pradesh. The members of parliament from Punjab, protested outside parliament shortly after the budget was presented, and said that this is a budget that appears to be only for not a union budget, but a budget only for Bihar and Andhra Pradesh, and a budget that's Mr. Amrinder Singh Rajawaring, who's the Punjab Congress president and a newly elected Lok Sabha MP from Punjab, went to the extent of saying that the BJP is pushing Punjab out of the map of India. That's been the sort of reaction to this budget. But and if you look at the general anticipation around a budget of some kind of populist programs, big ticket announcements, etc., there were three major announcements that Ms. Sitaraman made in a budget speech today. And the Congress has some reason to rejoice, because these are three announcements that come straight out of not the BJP manifesto for the Lok Sabha elections, but the Congress manifesto of the Lok Sabha elections. The first two are related to the issue of unemployment, an issue that figured very prominently during the Lok Sabha campaign, and an issue that the BJP for the last more than 5 years tried to brush under the carpet, but has had to willy-nilly concede in this budget. So these two issues that are addressed in the budget are with regard to employment, the two big ticket announcements, employment-linked incentives for employers, and internship programs for first-timers, for first-time employees, and a whole lot of other related schemes that the government has announced with regard to employment. The other major issue was, of course, MSMEs, which Mr. Rahul Gandhi, now the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha, has been raising on how the MSMEs have suffered due to poor policies of the government. And so there's a big focus on MSMEs also in this budget. So, but the three major big ticket announcements that come straight out of the Congress manifesto are the ELI, the employment linked incentives, the apprenticeship program, although the government is calling it internship programs, the Congress manifesto mentioned apprenticeship programs. And the third is the abolition of angel tax, another thing that featured very prominently in the Congress manifesto, which has been adopted in the union budget. So in a sense, the three major big ticket announcements that come in the budget come not from the Congress, not from the BJP's manifesto, but from the Congress's manifesto. And that's something that the Congress can take heart from and, in fact, maybe even jab the government with. And Mr. P. Chidambaram, the former finance minister and Congress leader, a short while back told media persons that he had hoped that while he's happy that the government has borrowed ideas from the Congress manifesto and the finance minister has read the Congress manifesto after the Lok Sabha elections, he had hoped that the that the BJP government will borrow more ideas from the Congress party and its manifesto for the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. But barring these, there have been no major big ticket announcements that will distinguish this budget from any of the other budgets presented during this government with regard to how it wants to course correct from some of the policy decisions that it has taken over the last 10 years, which have adversely impacted issues of price rise, issues of inflation, of of employment generation, of farmers. There's been no mention at all. One of the most important reasons raised during the Lok Sabha campaign was of MSP legal guarantee for farmers. And the budget is absolutely quiet on legal guarantee. It talks about MSP, continuing MSP, but it does not talk or address the issue of a legal guarantee to the MSP. So the government has sort of given a mixed signal. It wants to address certain concerns which possibly and rather evidently brought down its tally in the Lok Sabha elections, unemployment, and the state of the manufacturing sector, the MSMEs, etc., which affect a whole bunch of population. So it wants to address those, but it doesn't want to concede that it's doing so. So you don't see any big ticket policy announcements with regard to that, except for in a roundabout manner, talking about employment generation, talking about how the government has been doing this, and this is a continuation of the same. And at the same time, there are issues which the government does not want to face, such as the issue of farmer crisis, agrarian crisis. So an interesting budget, but a budget, I started by saying that in a sense, it was a historic budget for this government because Ms. Sitaraman became the first finance minister of the country to present 7 consecutive budgets today. This was a 7th consecutive budget. She could have left a mark with this budget, but for that, in a sense, it was a missed opportunity there. She'll basically be remembered if this budget. There's something that Ms. Sitaraman will be remembered for. It is perhaps of how the government unwittingly has given away the fact that its stability is on the mercy of Mr. Nitish Kumar and Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, and which is why perhaps Mr. Rahul Gandhi and several leaders of the opposition have dubbed this budget as a Kursi Bachao budget.